What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the One Fourth Careers Podcast. I'm Xavier, your host, and I am here with Marcus. Marcus graduated from Alabama A&M University with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering with a concentration in manufacturing and a minor in mathematics in 2020. Now, Marcus is working as a power delivery distribution engineer at Alabama Power. Marcus is an avid mentor and intentionally shows up in all spaces with the mindset of service and the sharing of knowledge. Marcus, thanks so much for joining, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing well. What about you? I appreciate you having me on today.
Yes, sir, King. I'm doing great, man. Super excited to have you on. I feel like in so many ways, probably a lot of the things that we're going to talk through on the episode, you've shared in bits and pieces on LinkedIn or on social media, Facebook, just with the community since you graduated, man. So I felt like you were a perfect fit to have you on the pod because I know you got a lot of gems to share with people, my brother.
That's right. That's right. I'm ready to
Yeah.
unfold, man. Let's release it to the public.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it, man. Well, to start, can you tell the people a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about your background?
Yeah. So as you said, graduated from A&M 2020, mechanical engineering, manufacturing systems, minor in mathematics. From Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised. I actually started with Alabama Power, also known as Southern Company, 2017 while we were in school as a co-op student. So I got on through the career fair there and which I still go back to and help recruit, try to get the next generation of young engineers through. Um, and it just took off from there. Stayed in touch with the recruiters the entire time I was in school. They went ahead and offered me my job. The end of the summer of 2018 when I finished my last rotation. And it was just up from there. Got done with that, finished up school those last 2 years. And went off and started working in the industry in the midst of COVID, which was crazy because one nobody at the office for real, but me and probably two other people. But like you said, avid mentor at heart. I was president of a mentor organization in high school. Same thing in college. Mentor young engineers in the company here today. Kind of help with retention. So that's just me. I'm always looking to share knowledge that I've learned and pass it on to the next person so they can win just like me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, here at One Fourth Careers Podcast, man, very first segment, it's called the Step Back. A little bit of sports theme, man, but we're going to hit a step back where we want to talk about your amazing career that you're having so far at Alabama Power. But first, we want to take a step back and ask you, what did you want to be when you were first growing up?
Man, it's so crazy. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I don't know what in my right mind, but some reason I wanted to be a lawyer. And I think as I got older and I did more research to find out how long they were in school for and all the different things, I was like, nah, I don't think that's gonna be the move.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started tapping into like what things were I good at, what did I like. One of the things was I was always hands on with stuff as a kid, like from breaking down bikes and building more bikes out of different parts to just whatever. So then I kind of started looking at engineering and I kind of stuck to that route. So here I am today.
Yeah. Really appreciate that. Yeah, that's interesting, man. I think my mom actually also said that she felt like she wanted to be a lawyer too. So shout out to all the people who are early childhood aspiring lawyers, or at least people who are influencing you to do it, because certain people would be like, "Yeah, you need to be a lawyer. You like to argue." I know I've gotten a few of those myself, but that's really interesting. From lawyer to STEM, got to be pretty bright to do either one of those. So it seems like you've always been pretty ambitious, pretty bright too. So that's always super insightful. One of my favorite questions to ask on the pod, just kind of seeing the variety of what people choose to do.
Right.
So back to your career, being at Alabama Power as a power delivery distribution engineer, if I have that right, how would you describe your roles and responsibilities in that role?
So to sum it up, I'm really a project manager. So in the day to day, in the life of a distribution engineer, in that role, you're 50% in the office, the other 50% you're out in the field. So on the field side, you typically out meeting with customer, whether it's residential, somebody building a house, commercial, or industrial, somebody building a business, or they can even be doing an addition to something existing. Your job is to find out either what size facility they're building or what size the square footage of the addition that they're adding. What are they gonna have in it as far as what's gonna be using electricity, main appliances like your stove, water heater, things of that nature. And then if it's facilities already there, power already on site, it's our job to run a load analysis to make sure what's already there was either going to be adequate to serve what they're adding on, or to make the determination if we need to upgrade anything to make sure we're not going to be burning anything down. So that's essentially what we do. And then just kind of aiding the customers and explaining to them what their process look like from start to finish, and just managing expectations. Because like I mentioned before, a lot of times customers think because we started talking Monday that the power company is gonna have that power turned on by Friday, and depending on what's all involved in getting them power, it doesn't always happen like that.
Now, that's really interesting because what I'm being inspired to think about right now from you talking through your roles and responsibilities is I feel that also studying mechanical engineering and going through recruiting and all that stuff, there weren't a ton of engineering roles that were customer facing. And I find that really unique. As a person who studied STEM, a person who is a full on engineer, you're also having that customer service side of the house as well. How would you describe some of the experience from your vantage point of being an engineer, being very technical, but then also half of your job is being out in the field, talking to customers, managing relationships, so on and so forth? Is that something that you find as a positive for you? Is that something that you found was unique that kind of fit your personality? How would you describe that experience?
So for me, it definitely fits my personality. I mean, my first job was fast food. You know, I
Yep,
did fast food like 6 years, so that's service itself. Whether you're
for
on the
sure.
back line making the food or you're in the drive-through or on the front counter. So, and one thing that has always been told to me is that I have a service attitude. I'm good working with people. Like it don't matter which restaurant I was working at, whether it was McDonald's, Hardee's, or Arby's. Somehow they always move me from the back line in the kitchen to the drive-through because of how I handle and deal with customers. You know, having a certain level of patience and understanding is one of the biggest things that you can do when you deal with customers, and just understanding that they don't fully may not fully understand or don't know the process of how things work on the inside, on the internal. So just being able to relate it and break it down for them to understand and kind of reassure them that, hey, look, we haven't forgot about you. We're working on it. I promise you, we're gonna get you taken care of soon.
Yeah, and that's funny because just knowing you in undergrad, your disposition was just always chill. Like you're a person, of course, extremely intelligent, able to take complex models, systems, whatever it may be, and make it real simple. But then also having those soft skills of being patient, having grace, being compassionate, all those things. Definitely things that when people reflect back, or when I think back to kind of working with you, being around you, it's like, yeah, that makes sense, like
Yeah.
some real good customer service going on over here. So I know that explains a lot of your success, but I did find that super interesting to kind of talk through being an engineer. Some engineers may not understand the breadth of experiences that they can enter into post undergrad. And sometimes it's really hard for us students in general, no matter what you're studying, to know the environment you're going to work in before you get there, which is why internships are important.
Right.
Yeah. Cool, man. Next question I have for you is, you mentioned you acquired your role through internships doing co-ops. Did you have a large appreciation for that in hindsight, where I know we had peers who maybe you didn't do internships as much, so you kind of took a role when you graduated, or there were folks who really wanted to grind and find their full-time opportunities through career fairs, interviewing, searching on the web. What was your approach with acquiring your opportunity, seeing as though you got it so early on? Like, did you
Yeah.
keep searching? Was that a part of your plan when you first started with Southern? What was your career planning approach to say, I'm getting a full-time job when I graduate? How did you approach, I want to go get a full-time job when I graduate?
So for me, it was kind of already embedded in me before I started freshman year that you need to get an internship,
Yep.
co-op, something. You need to get something to give you relevant experience in whatever field that you're working in. So what really did it for me, Dr. Adams, intro to ME,
Yep.
he told our entire class, he was like, look, I want y'all to go to the career fair. He was like, this is our sophomore year. He said, if you got a resume, let me look over it, tweak it. If not, I can give you a template. We can put one together. And he was like, I want each of you to meet me at the career fair. And went to the career fair, and everybody from the class that showed up, he was literally there at the door greeting us. And what he did, he took us around to all the different recruiters that he had a relation with, one being sub the company, and just kind of started that conversation because his whole thing was it's exposure. Even though as a freshman you may or may not be guaranteed to get a position, but you start building those relationships with those recruiters early. So when sophomore year roll around, they may not necessarily remember your name, but they probably remember your face when you walk up to them and say, "Hey, I talked to you last year. You told me to come back and see you." Because you're working off your incoming freshman resume. So you probably got stuff from high school, your GPA. Haven't really got to where they needed to be, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what kicked everything off and got me started. And like I said, I just continually built that relationship with the recruiters of the company, and that's how it took off. So I got the offer. Started working. Like I interviewed on campus as usual. Went to the next round, did the second interview, and then they literally called me like our first week of Christmas break, and they was like, "Hey, we got a spot open. Are you interested?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, what kind of course is that? So I had to go back to school that January, withdraw from my courses, make sure my aid and all that was gonna be in good standing. I took off and went to work, and the rest was history, honestly. But definitely working the career fair, and that's one of the things I try to talk to the students about to this day. Whenever I'm on campus, like, look, make sure you taking advantage of that, because
Please.
it's there to work for you. Like you have all these different companies spending money for their employees to be on campus to see you, So, put your
Listen,
best foot forward and sell yourself.
don't be the student where you're like, man, it's not worth my time. I got to go iron and find clothes and do a resume. And that's going to take an hour for me to put together. And it's really hard and challenging. It's just not worth the investment. It's not worth my time when I could go hoop. I can go play the game. I can go kick it with friends. Y'all don't fall into the trap of not wanting to put in a few hours when it's going to dictate a few years for you. You feel me?
Right. Please
Just
don't.
don't
I
do it.
mean, because
Please don't do it.
we both probably can speak to classmates that did not go that route. They just focus on getting that degree. And it's like ultimately, when you think about it, the whole idea behind it is to graduate and be ready to walk into someone's place of employment, not
Yes,
just to
sir.
get their degree. I mean, we got classmates, that graduated with us in 2020 that sat home for 5, 6 months, working part-time job or whatever, not being in the industry
Mhm.
because it was a couple different reasons for our class because COVID hit, so a lot of people had hiring freezes.
Yeah.
But they also go back to already having your foot in the door with a company because had you
Right.
had some kind of prior experience with them or already had a hand in and getting
Mhm.
a job offer, then it still could have went differently. But yeah, that definitely helps out a whole bunch. Like a lot of people
Exactly.
don't understand. I try to tell them like if me, you, and five other people in the same class, we coming through it together. We taking all the same courses, we
Mhm.
doing the same projects, and the only thing that may be different on our resume is whatever our work experience is, whatever, if we had an internship or co-op, and probably our hometown. Well, if our resumes look exactly the same, and out of only one person out of that group of six actually has had some relevant field experience, that GPA can even be lower than ours a little bit. And they may choose that person that's had that experience over everybody else because we want to know that you're teachable. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? We want to
Mhm.
know that you can come into the industry and we can teach you how to do this job and you take off and prevail in it. So
Absolutely. And you having that experience, it also eliminates questions. If a person doesn't have experience, you might say, I don't know how they're going to act when they come into the organization. I don't know if they know, how to have professional conversations or just how to connect with different team members. I just don't know versus someone who has experience through the bullet points on their resume, the things that they've done. You could read a person's job description and be like, okay, I know you work with the team because it says it right here. You work with a team.
right.
So it eliminates a lot of the questions. And I actually want to take a step back on something that you said that I really feel it's worth shedding light on. You and I both went to HBCU, historically Black college university. You're extremely successful. What you've already mentioned about an individual who's played a role in really cultivating that success and being almost the bumpers, if you will, towards you seeking a full-time role is Dr. Adams.
Right.
Shout out Dr. Aaron Adams, mechanical engineering professor at Alabama A&M University when we were there, and he was over one of our freshman labs, a couple freshman classes. I can't, me personally, just speaking for me, I can't say how vital it was having a man who looks like me, a black man, teaching me when I first got on campus.
Right.
That was extremely impactful for me. And the wisdom that he provided was extremely transparent. It was candid. And you felt the love from the advice that you received, which was, I want to make sure when y'all leave here, even though you may not leave for 4 or 5 years, 4 to 6 years even, I want to make sure you already have awareness to what your goal needs to be when you leave, which is to be gainfully employed, be in the industry, in the field, as you say. And I think that was really important. So for people out there, who are interested in going to HBCUs, we can talk at length for hours and hours about the impact that going to HBCU had on us, as well as the representation within the classroom. And I think that was one thing that A&M really got right for me, was who they had teaching freshman classes, Dr. Drabo, Dr. Adams. I think that's a lot. I think that's an experience a lot of people don't have. So we're grateful for it. But you dropped that gem, man. I felt like wanting to get some flowers there, and also speak to people in the audience who may not be in college yet, or who may be interested in transferring or things of that nature, just shedding a little bit of light on what our experiences look like.
Right.
So that was really insightful to hear about how you acquire your opportunity, how you approach getting internships, and just your mindset. Now I want to ask you about skills. In your current role, what are the skills that you feel are really important for you to thrive, whether that's technical, soft, even a mindset? What are some of those skills that really speak to you?
Honestly, one of the main ones that benefits someone the most of being in my role is just remaining teachable. I can't speak through that enough because you literally learn. Like even my supervisor to tell you, you learn something new every day in that role. Like I don't know if you ever get to a point. Even people that's been there working 30 and 40 years will tell you, I still learn something new every day to this day. Up until they retire. So
Mm,
just remain teachable. The way that you treat people in itself, because our company, for one, is a relationship based company. You never know who you're gonna run into again. You never know who you may end up working for one day. So the way you treat people can impact your future, your entire career. Excuse me. So that being another one. Because honestly, and what a lot of college students fail to realize in general is that when you get your degree, what that tells a recruiter, I'm put my recruiter hat on, that tells a recruiter in the company and the hiring manager that you're teachable. You can sit down and learn this tough curriculum, whatever it was, and go through whatever these professors put you through and get to that end goal. Because when you get into the industry, is depending on where you work and what you're doing, it can be so unpredictable. Being adaptable is another thing. That's what that brings you to.
yep.
Because you're gonna have to pivot and change gears at any moment. Um, so and just and being adaptable to change in general, because people move around, roll out roles. You might have to move to a different geographic area for work, and still be the same company. So I think those are like some of the most important things, because when you get on a job, they are going to teach you exactly what they need you to know, how they want you to do it, the process, procedures, whatever applications it is that they use, they're going to train you on how to do it. Yes, they do expect you to have that basic knowledge of how to use CAD and these different applications that you learn in school. But once you get into the company that you're working for, they're going to literally train you. Most times you have a mentor by your side to
Hmm.
ask questions of, to kind of coach you along. So those are the main ones for me.
Okay. All right. So those are some of the skills to thrive in the role. I want to talk about some of the environments that a person can put themselves in to even get prepared for the role, or be in the ecosystem where you're kind of in proximity to the people who want to be in similar roles, or you're just kind of within the industry. So my question is around programs and associations. Maybe it's college students, maybe it's working age professionals who want to pivot into a role similar as yours, or within the utility, the power industry. What are some of those organizations that you would recommend individuals consider joining if they are looking to be full-time engineers, maybe looking to work within the industry? Just whatever you've observed from your collegiate experience to your professional experience.
Nesby for us.
Okay.
Of course, I joined Nesby, I think my sophomore year.
Shout out Region 3.
I didn't get a chance to experience the conference because the year that I was going to go was the year that COVID hit, which
Mm.
hindsight, I was going to the conference for the experience because Southern Alabama Pride had already offered me my job. So, but I still wanted to at least experience that before I graduated. Being a member of NSB, and just to see what it was all about. Now on the flip side of that, I went to the NSB conference this year in March that was hosted in Atlanta, Georgia. So being on the employer side and it being my first time actually being there, I can definitely firsthand speak to the benefit of being in that organization. When they say people are there looking for you, they mean that. Like it was to the point where companies were about to, they playing tug of war for some of these students because they want them to come and work for that company.
Mm.
So definitely take advantage of that. And I know typically NSBE will have different, speaker series, or they bring people in from different industries, from near and far. Especially being in Huntsville, you got the Spatial Rocket Center, you got, NASA's up there, Redstone Arsenal. So you got all these different agencies right there in Huntsville. Huntsville Utilities, of course, TVA, but definitely there's the professional organizations in general on campus. Of course, you got to mention the mentor organization because I was the president of one on campus.
Got to.
Um, Things like that prepare you for what the organization and a side of an organization can be like. From the president to vice president to the secretary to membership chairs to all these different roles, treasurer. That's the same way that any company is ran. You got somebody at the top, it's gonna be the CEO, and it comes all the way down to the managers, supervisors that run the local stuff. So being able to understand that, having being in a leadership role helps you because that's something you can add to your resume. As a recruiter, again, one of the things we look for is work experience. Have you been a part of any club, organization, or done any sports? And your coursework. And the reason why we look for that is because we look for well-rounded individuals. That's kind of any job. Like you said, teamwork. Can you work well on the team? Can you work with individuals? Of course, there are roles out there. You can be remote, or you don't have to necessarily be in the atmosphere where you're working with somebody all the time. But for the most part, those are some of the things that we look for when we're looking at your resume. Like, okay, you got work experience. I know you know how you got time management. When you get out of work, you can't go sit at home and play the game because you got an assignment due at 10 o'clock. Things
Mhm.
like that. Like and a lot of people, and it's crazy because I've heard students say, "Well, I didn't put my job from McDonald's on my resume because I ain't think it mattered." No, I'll put that on there, especially if you're still in school or you just graduated, because we want to know what kind of work history you have. Have you had any work history? Because that matters too. So
Man, we get into a lot of recruiting gems. And honestly, I feel like this is a great opportunity because I don't really think that I've jumped into this topic as much with prior guests. So I think with you being so heavily involved in recruiting, it's a really rich opportunity to maybe help demystify certain things for students. So I actually want to kind of go off topic and have you talk more about recruiting. And I think something that's really vital here, I don't think there's enough students who understand the holistic nature of how they're being evaluated for opportunities. You mentioned wanting to look for well-rounded candidates. You've mentioned work experience, you've mentioned involvement, maybe leadership positions, maybe grades. I think probably the biggest thing that I heard on campus was, hey, if you have a 4.0, but you have no internships, it may not weigh as well compared to someone who has a lower GPA but has work experience. With that just being one example, can you talk more either about that from your firsthand experience or any other, let's say, things that students get wrong when they're approaching the process, like you mentioned with not putting McDonald's on the resume? Are there any other tips that come to mind or that you can jump into even more about, hey, here are some things that students really don't get wrong, and I want to take the opportunity to demystify, here's how we look at it from the recruiting side?
most definitely, that's one of the biggest ones. Like them not including their part-time jobs on there. And just not selling themselves. That's the
Okay.
biggest thing. Like when you get in front of those recruiters, of course, you got the basics, the elevator speech, your name, classification, your major, maybe where you from. That
Mhm.
kind of breaks the ice of the conversation. And then you may follow up with a question or a statement. Hey, I saw online you guys will hire engineers co-ops. I want to know if you can tell me more about that opportunity that you have. Like a lot of them, that I've seen, a lot of times they may come by the table, just drop their resume off and kind of back, or they may just stand there and as you look at their resume and not really say much to you. And it's like, okay, I see your resume, but who are you? Give me that firm handshake, look me in my eyes, and tell me about yourself. Um, that's the biggest thing. And then having that confidence when you come to the table, like tell me who you are, be confident in who you are. Put it all out there. Make me confident in me taking you to my recruiter and saying, I feel like this person can go in front of our hiring managers and win them over, being the reason why we should bring them on to the company. But yeah, man, I can't we can't stress it enough, man. Like I said, we see it all the time. Not taking advantage of career development services. Every
Mhm.
school is gonna have a career development department. It may be titled different, but you're gonna have a department where you can go and get your resume revised. If you don't have one, they can help you create one. They can put you in contact with different companies that are seeking students.
Yeah.
Um, you can ask them any question, utilize them as much as you can. I mean, what they fail to realize is you are paying these employees on these campuses. Your tuition, along with everybody else that you look left and right, you're paying them. You're paying them to teach you. You paying DPS to secure the campus. You're paying the lunchroom lady in the cab on Friday Chicken Tuesday. All of that.
Bro.
So you got to take advantage of everything that's there in front of you. Even especially your teachers. If you're in a class and you feel like you're not getting what you need from the teacher, go to office hours. If they got a TA, go to the TA. And if you need tutoring, then go take advantage of everything that's right there in front of you. That's the biggest thing that
Okay.
I can try to drive home for the students. Just take advantage of whatever. If they having a pre-career week, they help students get ready for the actual career week, go to it. Like if you had the
Right.
opportunity, please go to it.
And grades aren't everything.
Grades are not everything. And like you said,
Okay.
there have been situations where we have students, somebody have a 3.8, and literally all you see is their coursework on their resume. But then you got this other student that may have a 3.0, and they've been in a club organization. They worked at Walmart. Okay, cool. We probably can work with this student better. I literally had a student come to me last year with a 4.0, and they didn't have anything on their resume, so they didn't get an offer. We didn't bring them on for opportunity, for that reason. Because, like I said, it goes back to being well rounded. That's what we're looking for. We want to know, especially when we're looking at full time for interns in the co-ops, because if you've never been in corporate America or what that environment is like, it's a huge difference from any part-time job that you work in. Whether it's fast food, department store, shoe store, corporate America is completely different.
Responsibilities
So
change.
and completely, like
Yeah,
everything changes. So like someone that's been in that environment and knows how to conduct themselves and can relate that on their resume from an internship or co-op or some kind of professional involvement they've had versus someone that hasn't, they always have that weight.
absolutely.
There's always gonna be heavy on that side.
I love it. Well, man, since we've talked so much about the college experience, all the gems that you've shared about your role being in industry, take me back to college for you. Cause I mean, it sounds like to a person who doesn't know you, who didn't see, your journey at school, I'd say somebody might say, man, this guy Marcus must have had it all together. I mean, had a full-time offer in 2018 or had job offers in 2018, a couple years before he graduated. Now he's on the recruiting team, seeing so much success professionally. This guy must have had to figure it out. There's no way that there were any blemishes. There's no way that there's anything he would change if he could go back. So I want to ask you just that, man. If you could go back to undergrad, what advice would you give yourself to better prepare for your current role?
Man, honestly, the only thing I always say I would have done differently in undergrad was just be more active on campus. I started working. Well, I back up. So to speak to the point of having it all together, my senior year in high school, I was kind of going back with myself on what I knew I liked engineering and was interested in it, but I've always been a businessman. I always been business minded. So I was kind of torn between going to school for business, going to school for engineering. What kind of drove my final decision was I knew I needed and wanted something that was going to challenge me. And I didn't feel like that business curriculum was going to challenge me like I felt like I wanted to be challenged. And what I did was, while in school, we had to take macro and microeconomics anyway, but I took a finance class outside of that just to kind of dabble in and see, hey, did I really make the right decision? And when I tell y'all, man, I was just close to the professor falling asleep, I said, boy, I'm so happy I didn't put myself through 4 years of that. So that's just, a little tidbit on, what my mind was on as a freshman, getting ready to graduate high school, getting ready to start on the college campus, trying to figure out which route I wanted to go. But being involved on campus, I say that because my freshman year, before we even started classes, I was working a part-time job. I was working at Arby's out in Madison on the Boulevard. So as soon as I got out of class, I was hitting the highway, headed up 565, headed to Madison. And I would work anywhere till 10 or midnight, get off, do homework, do it all over again. So those first 2 years when I was on campus, I didn't get a chance to really be involved in anything. It wasn't until I actually became a resident assistant, where I didn't have to work in fast food anymore, that I was living, working, going to school all in the same place. That kind of opened up my schedule, allowed me to be able to be more active on campus, become a part of organization, be able to do community service like I wanted to. I definitely probably would have done SGA because I did. I would have done SGA. I think that would have been very beneficial. But yeah, that's just it. I think I did everything as best as I could. I did party. And I try to tell people that I like enjoy yourself, but I will party in between. Like we just got done with midterms. Okay, I'm gonna go out and do a little something. We getting ready to go home for Christmas break. I'm gonna do a little something. Or the beginning of the semester, right before classes really get serious, I'm gonna do a little something. But when we were in it, when we were in grind mode, no, I was not playing because I was working and
Hey,
going to
yo.
school.
Hey, that man Marcus was about his business, y'all.
Hey
I
man,
promise you, about his business, which is so cool. Just being open and honest with everybody, listening and watching. Like we were in close proximity, taking so many classes together, but we still weren't as close. We had our different circles and stuff, and it's cool kind of hearing about you taking finance or hearing about your experience those first couple years working because it's super admirable, and it's just like you never know what people are going through. You never know how people are grinding on their journey. So I give you flowers, bro, for sure, for like staying on the course. I think there are so many people who face hardships or challenges in undergrad, maybe those first year or two, and some people drop out, and that's okay if that fits their journey, because there's so much success that can be realized outside of education. But there are people where education is an enabler for them, but they don't quite finish that journey just because it gets too hard or they don't have the guidance. But nonetheless, you stayed the course. You are always about your business, man. I'm proud of you, and obviously, you're multiplying the impact to so many communities, man. And I appreciate you being here on the pod. So appreciate you kind of sharing that, being really open about how you would view in hindsight your college experience.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm proud of you as well, man. We
Oh yeah.
matriculated through this thing together, came out, man. I can remember when we walked across that stage, man.
Ooh.
It felt like it was a long time coming. But I'll tell you one thing: those last 2 semesters went by so quick. I ain't see them. I'm like, what happened?
It wasn't
Like
even the last two. It was the last 1.5. It felt like
yeah,
COVID.
yeah. It went by so quick. But yeah, like I said, we went through it together, and that's one thing I can speak to going through HBCU, like.
Mm-hmm.
Even like you said, it was a lot of us that were in our class that did engineering, and we may not have even had courses together, but just because we all were in the engineering building together, we saw each other. So that right there itself built some kind of relationship,
Oh yeah.
amongst us. So man, we were
Hey,
so
look,
excited.
every time walking through the halls, it's almost like that neighborhood vibe. Like when you walk through your neighborhood, and if you know everybody there, or if you back home at your roots, like your family, and you walk
Yeah,
down the street and you looking left and right, you like, hey, what up, yo? Hey, what's good? Hey, what's up, y'all? That's exactly how it was in the engineering building for us, where anytime you entered the engineering building, there was always a little bit of excitement if you weren't running late and it wasn't a stressful test day or something like that. Other than that, sometimes you try to get to the engineering building 30 minutes before class just so you could socialize. So again, that's another HBCU plug for folks, man. But we have our last segment here, man. It's called a 3 piece. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get into our last segment. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get into our last segment here, man. It's called a 3 piece. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get into our last segment here, man. It's called a 3 piece. So, You from the South, so you already know about the three piece, man. Three piece of this, three piece of that, whatever it is, hot and crispy. You feel me?
Yes,
Food
sir.
inspired, bro. I need a three piece from you, but I need it about your career. Looking back on your career journey so far, what are three words you would use to describe your career?
Excuse me. One I definitely say rewarding, spontaneous. Those are two on the top of my head. And the third one I would say is limitless.
Mm,
Um, I say spontaneous because, like I told you before, anything can happen. Like July, right? Or the week after the 4th of July, we get called. They asking us to go. They send us to Houston. So we go to Houston for 2 weeks. We work up there. It was nowhere in my mind. I think after celebrating 4th of July, I was gonna be going to Houston for almost 2 weeks. So that's the spontaneous side of it. And even if in our day to day operation, like this morning, for example, I'm thinking I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna get on my computer, do some design work with the engineer and training, get him going on some projects, get him trained up. I get a phone call about, incident going on in the field. So I had to leave the office and go meet one of my line crews to have a conversation with a school principal on some stuff that was going on. So that just turned my whole morning around. So that's a spontaneous piece. Limitless, it's so many different departments under the umbrella of our company that I tell people all the time, it's almost impossible not to find somewhere that you fit. And one of the best parts about our companies is that they promote internal promotion. Like whether it's up or over, whether you see something over there you want to do, or whether you get promoted to go to the next level for you to continue to lead. Um, what was the other one I said?
rewarding.
Spontaneous. Rewarding. I mean, it's a rewarding career. For me, like I said, being a people person, I get a chance to work with people every day and aid them in the process of getting a necessity. Like you can't do nothing without power, water. You can't do nothing without those two things.
Stuck like Chuck.
It's only so long you're gonna want to run off a generator and keep having to go get a gas can to fill it up. So it's definitely a necessity and it impacts people's quality of life. So seeing it from that aspect, seeing it from the recruiting side and being able to bring like we went to Nesby, man, and we got three guys that I think two in which I helped interview while I was there that got hired on full time with the company. So seeing, the fruits of my labor amongst the other people that were there with me come to light, and I'm actually training one of those engineers in my office right now. It's just like, wow, like this is, the results of my impact that I made by just being there, giving this young man a chance to interview him and then sending him to the next round. So it's rewarding, like being able to see you continue to pay it forward, even in your job role. Aside from being a part of Alabama Alabama A&M Alumni Association, aside from being a part of Alabama Power Service Organization, where we do all kind of community service in the community, um, being an internal mentor for the engineers that are coming in, like all these different things, like it's a reward. That's why I say it's a reward. There's so many different things you can do, and we do so much stuff that a lot of people don't know about. From the training program that we have for the utility assistants, the line workers, putting them through that program so that when they can come out on top, and then sending them, be out to be with the rest of our linemen out on the field. Like it's so, like I said, it's endless, man. It's like it's rewarding.
I love that. I love that, man. And through your career journey so far and moving ahead, who or what inspires you?
Honestly, I come from very humble beginnings, man. So I was first generational, and I say that for as first one to go off to school, first male in my family to even go to school, first one to do college, do and study engineering. Now I got a niece behind me. She just started at TSU this August. She's doing engineering. All of those things, man. Both of my parents were very hardworking. My dad was the maintenance man over a number of different McDonald's locations here in Birmingham. My mom was in management in another restaurant. Neither one of them ever went to college, completed college. So just remembering the times that we struggled when I was a child and didn't have power to do anything and want to have a different lifestyle and to kind of be a trailblazer and change that narrative for my family in general itself is enough motivation for me. Like knowing that my niece is probably going to school for engineering because she saw her uncle do engineering and she was able to come on my job and job shadow me while she was in school. Like that, I mean, that right there is enough. Like it speaks for itself. And
Yeah.
just being able to touch the lives of the people around me, knowing it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I can help make somebody's quality of life a little bit better than it's been. Like that right there is enough to motivate me, man.
Mm. Preaching, man. Hey, well, that's like pretty much wrap up time, man. That was beautiful. Last question I have, just in the spirit of the mutual benefit of all my guests, you have poured so much, so many gems into the listeners, into the viewers, into this podcast, man. How can viewers and listeners pour back into you by way of learning about other things that you have going on? How can people support you, and what kind of plugs can you offer to the people?
Man, honestly, I have I'm really running and operating my second side business. I think you knew my first one when I was on campus. I think you see my DJ equipment behind me. I still got it.
Yes,
But
sir.
I was a DJ from probably my 8th grade year of middle school all the way up until last year, and I kind of retired that hat. Now I'm in the second year running my inflatable business. So that's one way, and I can give you the information. You can find my pages on social media, and just honestly, the other thing that they can do, and it's really to help themselves, is just continue to pay it forward. Like it's at
Mm.
the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's enough money, it's enough success out here for everybody to get. And if you don't lose sight of it and don't forget that and not try to keep up with the next person and hate on the next man, just know your time always coming.
Oh my goodness, man! Who you telling? That boy out here preaching for y'all,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Hey,
coming.
let the people know the name of your inflatable business too. We're gonna put the links below, but get the people a shout to the name.
Yeah, so the name of my inflatable business is Marky Mark's Moon Bounce. It's catchy. It's my name.
Yep.
It's unique. Marky Mark's Moon Bounce right here in Birmingham, Alabama. I know it's gonna be crazy this weekend because it's Labor Day. But yeah, man, like I said, I've been running it for 2 years. I literally started small. Started with two bounce houses, a snow cone, and a popcorn machine. And I had a conversation with one of the OGs that actually worked at my job when I was working in Tuscaloosa with the power company. He was like, why stop with the popcorn? Oh, he was like, actually, I bought the two bounce houses first, and that was my idea, and I pitched it to him. And he was like, why just start with the bounce house? And he was like, why not get everything? The popcorn machine, snuggle machine, you have everything. And I was like, you know what, you're right. So he expanded my thinking a little bit, and I mean, it became bigger than what I imagined in the beginning. But even with that business, like everything I do, it's a reason, it's a purpose behind it. So one of the things that business is something I've always wanted to do, and motivation behind it was, I told you I come from humble beginnings. So
Yes,
growing
sir.
up as a child, the only time my siblings and I saw bounce houses was if we was at somebody else's party. My parents couldn't afford to go and get no bounce house or water slide or none of that. So we was outside, thugging, or we was on the trampoline, basketball, or whatever we had is what we had. So knowing that I have so many nieces and nephews, I got god kids, so a lot of children around me, and them always being tied to them and being able to present something that's gonna make their childhood memories that much better just by me bringing a bounce house to the party just because I'm there or whatever it may be. Like that, like I said, it just kind of go back to impacting others around me. So
I love it. Hey man, service is sovereignty. It's crazy, ain't it?
that's
That's our
right.
motto at Alabama A&M University, man.
It
Well,
run deep.
this was beautiful. This was amazing. This is everything that I hoped it would be. I'm glad we made it happen. I appreciate you stopping by and really presenting this package of so much wisdom that I know you've dropped in anecdotes across so many different places, man. I'm excited for people to watch this. I'm excited for the communities that you live in and the people who know you to also see this. For those who have lost sight or maybe haven't been in touch with you as much to kind of see the amazing impact you're doing, I think there are a lot of people who will see this and be like, I have a whole new respect for what Marcus is doing. And we appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you stopping by.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me, Zay.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch, bro.
All right.
All right, now. Yo, have my guy on the pod. This is a really rich conversation. Super excited to get some insight from him. This is my second Alabama Power employee, so they doing something right down there, I must say. But it's really cool being able to touch on so many different roles. Excited for people to gain awareness of the fact that this is even a company, an industry that you can work in. And especially for those who are interested in studying STEM, this offers just one more side, one more angle, if you will, on what you can do post graduation. I think some of the most important things that we touched on is a little bit of that college experience of focusing on how you acquire full-time roles, looking at internships, selling yourself. The gems are endless. So I hope you all took something that will pour into your life from this. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. Check out the podcast on all the platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it may be. You can listen to the pod. Audio version of watching the video isn't for you. We have Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. We really want to make sure we get the content to you. If you know someone who can benefit from the lessons that were dropped in this episode or any episode, share it. Knowledge is power. Let the people know what's going on out here and the good content that we're trying to pump out for you. So, as always, stay happy, stay blessed. Peace, family.